Fighting games. The first arcade experience for many, where they verse their sibling or close friend in a 1v1 bout, most commonly, the victor being whoever mashed their buttons the quickest. Since the earliest days of arcade cabinets, fighting game franchises have expanded to millions of sales for at-home consoles, with their series like Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and many more. While traditional fighting games have made themselves a staple in popular culture, constantly being referenced in other games, TV shows, and movies, the type of fighting game I'd like to discuss today, too often forgotten, is platform fighters. Platform fighters, while generally considered more casual due to being far more accessible, find their player bases typically dwindle to almost solely competitive players, with one main exception, the cream of the crop for platform fighters, the Smash Bros. Series. Before talking about the shortcomings of other platform fighters, it's best to first talk about the success of the Smash Bros. Series to understand how a platform fighter can succeed, both from a casual and competitive perspective. Most of the Smash Bros. Series' success comes from Nintendo's reputation to welcome everyone to play video games in a party-like setting, and the unmatched character roster lineup, up until recently at least, which we will discuss later. This first point comes from Nintendo consoles often finding their way into families' homes, or at least if not yours, a friend's home. With Nintendo consoles being commonplace, a game to be played with friends and family needs to be available, and that's where a game like Smash Bros, Brawl, Melee, or most recently Ultimate comes into place. Even if you aren't necessarily a competitive gamer, many people are happy to pick up the game, select Kirby, and continuously jump to the top of the screen to then transform into a rock to fall back down to the stage, and repeat the process all over again until someone wins. Smash Bros. As a platform fighter for the majority of people is just the excuse to be able to hang out and chat with people, less about the actual results in the game. The second point to Smash Bros. Success is how stacked a character roster the game now bolsters. Even originally, back on Smash 64, being able to pick up and play a fighting game as Mario, Pikachu, or Link seems insane considering these are some of Nintendo's fan favorite characters. Nowadays, you can find characters beyond even Nintendo franchises such as Sora from Kingdom Hearts, Sonic from Sega, and Steve from Minecraft, to just name a couple. Some people are enticed to continue to play Smash because they have previously made connections with these characters that have now found themselves in a new genre where the fans are able to take control of a pretty true representation of the character. Beyond making well-made games, and a whole number of other reasons, I believe these 2 points have been crucial to the Smash Bros. Series' continued success. It is nearly impossible for other game studios to create a platform fighter that is built with these in mind, since they likely don't have the ability to include such a stacked roster of characters, or already have made their way into homes of millions. So, how is it that platform fighters can succeed like Smash Bros. Has, and make unique adaptations to separate themselves to maintain their own audience? Lethal League is an early example of a game studio attempting to make a unique experience within the platform fighter genre. Unlike most other games that fell into this category, Lethal League has the players interacting with a neutral ball instead of directly with their opponents. I'd best describe the mechanic of this game as a combination of tennis and dodgeball, where the ball continues to speed up after each hit until someone makes a mistake, gets striked, and takes damage. The game was quite fun for how simple of an idea it sounds, and after playing it, one can quickly see the competitive nature it brings forth. While this game is extremely fun, with both Lethal League and Lethal League Blaze having an above 95% positive review rating on Steam, it did not perform particularly well from a player-based perspective. Even though the game is fun, as indicated by most players rating it highly, has a great soundtrack and visuals, that doesn't seem to be enough to make a popular platform fighter. This trend will continue throughout this video, and while these statements are partially subjective, making a good game here is not enough to make a successful platform fighter. To briefly answer why I think this game didn't explode into a competitive fighting game seen at tournaments or have a large casual player base, it mostly comes from being made by an indie studio. The genre is already niche, so not having a big name to market the game or push it into more LAN tournaments was always going to make it hard to expand to a wider audience. With all that said, I do want to note that Lethal League continues to have a small but passionate player base hosting online tournaments within their Discord and are an extremely welcoming group of people. So if an ultra competitive platform fighter such as this interests you, please do check it out. Brawlhalla is debatably the second most successful platform fighter, only behind Smash Bros. The primary reason for its success over the majority of other games in the genre is its accessibility for new players. Many fighting games in general have high barriers to get in, might it be previous knowledge of old games, expensive gaming peripherals, or even the price of the game itself. Brawlhalla circumvents all of these by being a free-to-play game that can be played on every major console, computer, or even phones. This easy access to the game has allowed it to create one of the largest consistent player bases for any fighting game, with normally over 15,000 concurrent players. The success of Brawlhalla continues thanks to the size of the casual player base, as the Brawlhalla esports featured over $1 million in tournament prizes for all those interested in taking the game more seriously. I want to comment on how amazing it is that the developers support the esports scene for the game and blow Nintendo out of the water, since famously they have never supported the greater competitive scene with prize pools. The combination of easy accessibility for the casual community and the ability to work towards huge prize pools in massive tournaments for the competitive community is what other platform fighters are trying to strive towards. Brawlhalla is the primary example of other platform fighting games being able to survive and thrive within the genre. Rivals of Aether is the first example of games that are similarly close mechanically to the Smash Bros. Series, but have enough differences to be a completely different game. Once again, Rivals of Aether is a game that has extremely well polished gameplay, has a great pixel graphics if that's your thing, or even a good soundtrack. Notably, Rivals has a small player base in comparison to the overwhelmingly positive review it has on Steam, with now also being playable on the Nintendo Switch, which we noted earlier as being an absolute benefit to the possible success of a platform fighter. My best explanation for why Rivals of Aether isn't as big casually or competitively is simply it competes too directly with Smash Bros. While having a $30 price tag. Unless someone has played the game on a friend system, it is hard to justify the risk of paying $30 for a fighting game you don't know if you'd like, when instead you can play the equivalent of comfort food in Smash Bros. To be clear, I think Rivals of Aether is absolutely justified and worth the $30 price tag, but I can understand the difficulty for consumers and prospective players in picking up the game without knowing beforehand if you'd like it. Rivals of Aether is another indie game, so it doesn't come with the reputation or the widespread marketing that other larger studios already have. Slab City and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl had to be grouped together due to their gameplay being extremely similar, as both were developed at least in part to Ludosity. Slab City is an interesting example of a platform fighter, as it is clearly playing into being a meme game. I don't really have much to say about this game in terms of what it did right or wrong, because I don't think that this game was trying to be a successful casual or competitive game. I believe Slab City wanted to be a funny platform fighter experience, and I think it succeeded in doing that, as seen by plenty of large YouTubers making videos on the game. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, on the other hand, is an example of a platform fighter that had the potential to be amazing, but fell flat in most ways. The key reasons this game had the potential to succeed was Ludosity was working on the gameplay, so people assumed it would be fun to play, and more importantly, Nickelodeon's characters were being the playable roster. Where this game failed was in execution, as notably, the game released without many features, especially with regards to sounds, voice lines, and music, but also coming with a $50 price tag. As explained previously, a $50 price tag is pretty difficult for players to justify, and they can always go back to a game they already know they'll like, but initially being sold as an incomplete game doesn't help. The playable roster, including Nickelodeon characters, is a huge boost to grab player attention, but in my opinion, the chosen roster of characters missed a lot of their fans' favorites, while being a weird array of time periods from the channel, missing parts of their target audience. If this game was released at true completion, with a more fleshed out character roster and a cheaper price point, its legacy would likely be different than what I just described. Multiversus is the most recent platform fighter, and one of the most promising possibilities for what the genre has to offer in the future. This game is notably published by Warner Bros., so this game includes the most insane roster of characters such as Tom and Jerry, Batman, LeBron James, Arya Stark, and so many more. I can't even get close to hitting all the popular characters, with more coming in the future. Multiversus is also a free-to-play game that attempts to be as accessible as possible. So, with an insane character roster competing with Smash Bros., and being seemingly as accessible as possible, comparable to Brawlhalla, is Multiversus the platform fighter killer? Well, when it released, it seemed it might be, with peaks as high as 150,000 concurrent players, but now falling back to more realistic numbers in the couple thousand concurrent players. So, why is Multiversus not as dominant as one might expect in the genre? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but I think it's two possible reasons that semi-relate to each other. As Multiversus focuses on the 2v2 format, it mostly relies on playing with a friend to compete, which can be a roadblock at times to best enjoy the game. With this, the first big reason people have left playing the game is bad online servers making it difficult to play the game at times. With 4 people connecting to individual matches, it's hard to give the best experience to all 4 players. The second big reason is playing Multiversus in person is nearly impossible. The game wasn't made with couch co-op party fun that you'd see in Smash Bros. In mind, but that's how many people have come to enjoy their platform fighting games. It's even more surprising considering Multiversus wants to promote itself as a competitive game, but hosting 2v2 tournaments in person is near impossible on a larger scale right now. I think these issues will continue to be solved in the future, and Multiversus will be a mainstay in the platform fighter genre, but this shows that even with every possible strength in your corner, it's hard to succeed in this genre. Platform fighters have been chasing to catch up to the cultural relevance of traditional fighters. I won't say we'll be seeing a Rivals of Aether or Smash Bros movie in the near future like we've seen with Mortal Kombat, but I believe platform fighters will continue to grow in popularity in the future. More importantly, I think more game studios will try their hand at the genre and bring their unique takes to try to succeed in the competitive landscape. I, for one, just love playing games with my friends, and platform fighters have given me one of the easiest ways to do that, so I hope I can continue to do that for times to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good one.